Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Nebraskans and colleagues. I can't wait till we get into all-day debate because I would love to close the door on LB229 and finish the debate and move on from this. And I could talk about this all day. I think we all know if there's a swing vote on LB229, it's probably Senator Raybould, who has kind of a famously weak record on workers' issues. And you know, there's still kind of a question about whether or not she's gettable on this issue. But one thing that has frustrated me through this entire, definitely the debate on this bill, but also themes throughout this entire session, is the idea that being on the side of small business, standing up for small business, using your experience as a small business owner, blah, 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 that aligns you more with billionaires and companies than it does with workers and the types of people that you employ. I employ 13 people in Omaha. I've been a business owner for 20 years. So when I hear people stand up and say, I'm a small business owner, so I'm standing up for small business, but they oppose or they support things like LB229, I have to ask myself, what small business owners are you speaking for? Who are you speaking to? Because you're not speaking for me. LB229 picks winners and losers, and it's rigged for corporations and big business, not small business, not Nebraskan families, and not workers. This bill isn't about fairness. It's not about free market. It's about giving billion-dollar corporations a competitive advantage by the legislature rewriting the rules in their favor. It lets Uber, Lyft, DoorDash avoid the responsibilities that every other business in Nebraska has to follow, including my business and including Senator Raybould's business, while leaving workers with no rights and no recourse. If I run a small business in Nebraska, I have to follow labor rules. I have to pay my workers fairly, I have to contribute to unemployment, I have to follow safety regulations, I have to offer basic protections to my workers. Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash don't want to play by those same rules, so they're asking you to change them. They've written checks, they've got people out in the lobby, and they're making sure that the Nebraska legislature is on their side instead of on the people's side. And it's not about protecting business, it's about shielding billion-dollar corporations from accountability while every other employer in Nebraska still has to follow the law. If a small business owner, like Senator Raybould or like myself, hires a delivery driver for a delivery service or a transportation company, we have to pay them a fair wage, we have to cover payroll taxes, we have to follow workplace safety laws, we have to provide legal protections against termination. There's all kinds of labor laws that we have in Nebraska and in the United States. Uber and Lyft are transportation companies. DoorDash is a delivery company. They just don't want to be legally recognized as what they are because it would mean treating their workers fairly. So why should these tech companies with billions of dollars get to skirt the responsibilities that every other local business has to follow? I was speaking to a former state senator who is a Republican and who's been an important mentor to me in my time here. And he also made the point, how come if you, in Nebraska, if you get a company that does the same exact services as Uber and Lyft or DoorDash, but you book it by telephone, you pick up the phone and you call instead of doing it on the app, this bill doesn't apply to them. Think about how that's workable. Think about what we're actually putting into law. This is corporate welfare disguised as deregulation. Let's call it what it is. It's an industry-backed bill that rigs the market for a handful of power corporations. And, you know, that's fine. Then just say that. Just say that. Senator Sorrentino did that on the mic. He just stood up and said, you know, I don't think corporations are evil, and if you're saying they're evil, then shame on you because they're creating jobs and building our economy. I mean, I'll speak for myself. I certainly agree with that. Nobody is saying corporations are evil. What we're saying is don't support LB229 and say you're doing it to support small businesses or that you're doing it because you're on the side of businesses. What you're doing is rigging the system for corporations that don't have a stake in Nebraska. Passing 229 is not going to help my stationery shop. It's not going to help Senator Raybould's grocery store. It's going to help billion-dollar companies that are based in other states continue to treat their workers poorly. If you believe in free markets, you should oppose 229. If you believe in the free market, you should not be afraid of your workers organizing. This bill isn't about competition. It's about making sure workers have no bargaining power. Thank you, Mr. President.